Welcome to another episode of At the Table. Today I'm talking to Nikki. She is a registered early childhood educator and another director from Brampton Focus. So today we're talking about some of the things our children do to drive us crazy and how to handle those situations. So Nikki, you're a mom of how many? Four? Four.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you experience some of these trying behaviors as well?
I have since my first son was born, and he's 22. So yes, I have. I continue experiencing them. And
What what experience do you remember the most of the most trying situation for your child?
trying situation. I would say the teenage years are the most trying situation because, like you, I'm an early educator, an early childhood educator. So I could handle the little stuff when they were little. I can deal with tantrums. I could deal with.
How did you deal with tantrums? Because you ever been in that mall these days and see how they're handled?
Yeah. I must say I've never had my children throw a tantrum in public.
You've never?
I've never had that happen. I have not had that happen.
She is lucky.
No, I'm not lucky.
Seriously lucky.
I'm pretty tough on my kids. It's not lucky. It's just this is the expected behavior, and my children know.
How do you tell a 2-year-old what's the expected behavior?
It's not what you tell a 2-year-old because a 2-year-old's not going to understand what you're saying.
Right.
But they do know that if they behave a certain way, we're leaving. I'll just pick up whatever we're doing and we'll leave. You also, when you're dealing with small children, you have to make sure their needs are met. You cannot expect a 2-year-old to go to a mall for 6 hours and not lose their mind. You have to have reasonable expectations when you're dealing with children. It has to be age appropriate.
How do you determine? I'm a new mom.
Okay.
This is my only child.
Right.
How do I know what reasonable expectations are? I'm not a trained
Well,
staff.
it's interesting that you said that because I was thinking about this table talk that we're doing, and I found this, and it is called Dr. Benjamin Spock, Baby and Child Care. My mother read this book, and this is how my mother parented my sister and I. It's old-fashioned in a lot of ways. And today, I think parenting is different because we're more enlightened on how to deal with situations. This book basically talks about spanking, for example. When to spank, how to spank, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but in today's
But we've
society,
evolved exactly to know that spanking may stop that immediate behavior, but it's not teaching the child. And so I think our role today as parents, and it's tough, is to teach the child. It's tough. It's quite a balancing act.
Yes, but when we're looking at parents today, there is a lot of moms that it's not that they're uneducated, it's the fact that they're from a different culture.
Yeah.
So then cultural norms play into the situation.
Absolutely.
How do you educate these moms, seeing as they only know what they've experienced?
Exactly. With other parents, like I'm on different sites, like on social media, and parents bring up situations. So I offer a solution. I will do that. Also, I think what we've lost out on in today's society is we're all in silos. It takes a village to raise a child. I find that parents have to do a lot of it on their own today. It used to be, in the neighborhood when you're playing as a kid growing up, if Mrs. Smith happened to speak to you about your behavior, you can bet Mrs. Smith is telling your parents and you're in trouble.
Yeah, but
we don't do that anymore. That's what I mean. It's very different.
Because Mrs. Smith would then cut your tail.
That's right.
And then you go home.
That's
and
right.
your parents would cut your tail again.
That's right.
So it's a two different
That's
situations.
right. But today it's also very, it's difficult because that village is no longer there, or the village is much smaller.
But
I find that.
Is it that it's much smaller, or people are not aware of that there is still a village?
I think that's part of it. I think we're all in silos, and so we parent differently, but we don't support each other. I find there's not a lot of support. There's a lot of judgment, I find, with parents.
That is true.
There's a
I
lot
can't
of
tell
judgment.
you how many times
Yeah.
I've been in malls talking to my children, and I'm not giving in to what my child wants. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, using consequences, natural and logical consequences, and people are looking at me like, ugh. It's like, really?
I know. And that's even with the mom or dad and their child throwing a temper tantrum. I often look at that parent with sympathy because it's embarrassing, and I get it. I get it. It's a tough thing to balance. I do find, though, parents today seem to be afraid of setting reasonable limits with their child. You've heard the term helicopter parents. I find parents today are more like lawnmower parents. They just bulldoze into any situation to protect their child from dealing with what is ahead of them.
So
We're
how
not
do we help
raising
these-
resilient
But
children.
how do we get these parents to realize what they're doing and help them realize the damage that they're doing?
Education.
But how? Education is
Things
a
like
broad
this.
way.
Things like this. Like I said, there's sites today on Facebook, let's say, parenting groups where parents are offering advice. That's one way of
But is
doing
it
it.
good advice?
Not always. I mean, but again, it's very. It depends on what you think is good advice. I do find parents today, though, are afraid to discipline their kids, and they're afraid to put reasonable limits on their child. I've had parents tell me that their child decides at the age of 3 or 4 when bedtime is. That's not a child choice. Child choice is, do you want the red cup or blue cup when you're having your milk at lunch? A child deciding when bedtime is not a child choice. That's an adult choice. And I find a lot of parents today are forgetting that they're 32 and they're dealing with a 2-year-old. They're the adult, they're in charge. So they can lay down, again, reasonable limits for their child. I also think parents today expect their children to be perfect. They don't understand when their 2-year-old's throwing temper tantrums. And I think it's our role as early childhood educators to help each other and educate parents on how to deal with situations like that.
I think one of the things that a lot of parents and people in society need to remember, if you see a parent who is struggling, instead of casting a judgment, just walk over and say, how can I help?
Exactly.
Is there something that I can do?
Yeah.
Yeah. It will go so much further than casting judgment because you don't know what the backstory for that parent is.
Exactly. You may also have an atypical child. So you may have a child who's 12 years old and looks like they shouldn't be throwing a temper tantrum, but that child may be on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum. So we can't cast judgments and say, well, they should be doing A, B, C, and D. Like you said, we don't know. So I think we need to come out of our silos and help support each other.
On that note, coming out of our silos, if you are a parent, go on the Region of Peel's website.
Yeah.
They have over 65 early on and parenting centers in the Region of Peel. Check out their website. There must be something close to you. If you can't get out to get to an early on center, go on social media. There are many parenting groups out there. Reach out to a friend, a teacher, a pastor, somebody. Just do not try and do it on your own. Because as Nikki said, raising a child is more than just one person. It takes a village.
It does, absolutely does.
Thank you.